Olá, meu nome é Jackson Borges, eu sou o vice-presidente de Indústrias Estratégicas para o Brasil. Estou aqui para dar as boas-vindas ao SAP Now 2020. Para mim aqui é um prazer conversar com vocês, contar um pouco de como a SAP vem trabalhando com seus clientes, um pouco sobre o que é a nossa visão da empresa inteligente e compartilhar algumas coisas novas que a gente teve recentemente, né? Então, empresa inteligente, para que a gente, pelo que a gente vem passando nesses últimos meses, é um conceito mais fácil de entender. Então, como é que as nossas empresas estão preparadas para se adaptar? Como é que elas estão preparadas para as mudanças dos negócios? Como é que elas vão mudar quando uma crise chegar? Então, o conceito de empresa inteligente é como nós, da SAP, preparamos todo o conceito operacional, estratégico e de experiência para que os nossos clientes estejam preparados para essas mudanças, né? E uma das coisas mais importantes nesses momentos de transformação e o que de fato torna a empresa inteligente é como conseguir tirar o melhor do seu dado operacional e transformar em insights para que possa crescer e atender as demandas do negócio. Então, a nossa tecnologia hoje, ela tem dado essa capacidade aos nossos clientes de transformar esses dados operacionais em insights. A SAP, ela tem sua grande fortaleza nos processos de negócio. E a gente trabalha com 25 indústrias. E hoje, o nosso ambiente de inteligente enterprise, ele não é um ambiente fechado, é um ambiente que ele tem um ecossistema aberto, onde que ele tem um conceito de colaboração, utilizando a inteligência da nossa plataforma HANA para conectar para o mundo externo. Então, a gente tem aí a nossa fortaleza na primeira camada dos dados operacionais, a gente tem todas as nossas linhas de negócio do RH, da área de procurement, na área de clientes, dando habilidade para o seu negócio, e também um novo conceito, que é o conceito de sustentabilidade. Então, como é que eu torno os nossos clientes capazes de ser também sustentáveis, estarem conectados aos ecossistemas? Então, nós sabemos que hoje o dado de experiência do nosso cliente é o novo ouro para os nossos clientes. Então, a SAP, ela tem hoje a capacidade de usar os dados operacionais e os dados de experiência para transformar hoje em insights para tomada de decisão. Como conhecer melhor seu cliente e como utilizar os dados operacionais para que isso torne, de fato, ações estratégicas dentro da sua organização. Alguns exemplos importantes de tomada de decisão para se transformar nesse mundo digital, e esse momento que a gente foi desafiado pela pandemia foi importantíssimo, porque vários clientes comentaram que anteciparam 5 anos suas estratégias, foi de fato tomar a decisão desses projetos. Então, grandes empresas como varejistas, por exemplo, eu posso usar um exemplo aqui da loja 100, que tinha um plano de transformação de mais médio prazo, durante a pandemia tomaram a decisão de ir para a plataforma S/4HANA e fazer toda a sua transformação, tanto do seu back-office, quanto da sua área de RH, para a sua área de logística, para preparar para as novas demandas. Então, fez uma transformação multicanal na empresa e agora está preparada para seguir para esse novo momento. Outros também que já vinham num processo de já ter tomado essa decisão e estavam num processo de implementação e foram impactados pelo momento da Covid, decidiram não parar seus projetos e tiveram sucesso também nas suas implementações. O Açaí, um grande atacadista local, teve essa capacidade e teve o sucesso exatamente de ser entregue seu projeto durante a pandemia. A SAP tem muita preocupação com o sucesso dos projetos dos nossos clientes. Então, hoje a gente tem mais de 53 projetos sendo monitorados e auxiliados pela SAP, e durante o momento da pandemia, apenas 2 projetos foram impactados e foram suspensos. Mas a grande vantagem que aconteceu, que a gente pode utilizar isso como um conceito, foi a melhoria de eficiência. Então, 15% desses projetos que foram monitorados dentro da empresa inteligente já compartilharam que houve uma melhora na sua eficiência e no seu tempo de entrega do projeto. Muitos que não eram esperados que conseguissem entregar o projeto nesse momento de pandemia, conseguiram entregar seus projetos. Então, essa é a essência da SAP. Como fazer o mundo rodar melhor e conectar as pessoas. Então, o conceito de empresa inteligente cada vez mais se fortalece, e eu entendo que aqui, durante o SAP Now 2020, estaremos todos aqui colaborando e trazendo informações importantíssimas para a decisão. Muito obrigado. Hi, continue talking regarding the intelligent enterprise. I'm honored to introduce here our colleagues that work for Oxford Economics and did a research with SAP in collaboration with SAP about good information regarding our future. So I would like to introduce Edward and Adriana. Edward and Adriana, please, I would like to listen for you.
I'll go first. Hi, I'm Ed Cohn. I'm the editorial director at Oxford Economics and our technology practice lead. I have worked on many programs with SAP over the years, and this big program on systems thinking is our most recent and really one of our most important and interesting.
And I'm Adriana Gregory. I'm a senior editor here at Oxford Economics. And I have worked alongside Ed on those projects with SAP, including this one on systems thinking. So happy to be here today.
Great. I'm very curious about this information. So can you describe briefly of the management philosophy this is and how companies in Brazil can apply to their business in their intelligent enterprise?
You asked the hard question right at the top, Jackson. Systems thinking sounds like a complicated idea, but it's really a philosophy of understanding every part of a business ecosystem and the interactions between each part inside the firewall and outside the firewall. So it's the way your different functions communicate and interact with each other, but it's also the way those functions and your business as a whole relate to your suppliers, maybe to regulators, even competitors in some cases. It's understanding how the parts fit together and work together and managing it all as one coherent system. So that's what we call systems thinking.
Perfect.
And we went out, we explained it, and then we talked to 3,000 executives around the world, 16 countries, including Brazil, and took the data and analyzed it to get the business stories out of it, really to come up with actionable items that executives can use to practice this discipline, to measure how far along they are, and to see what the benefits of doing it are. And we found that companies around the world are just starting out. They're not right at the very beginning, but it's not a mature discipline, but it's an essential way of doing business in this digital world, in a world that's built around the intelligent enterprise. And Brazil, like other countries, is still working through it. There are areas where Brazil is looking to advance a bit, and there are areas where Brazil is more or less on par with the rest of the world.
Perfect. And specifically in Brazil and the business leaders that face this big challenge that we had during these times, what's the big challenges or what they shared about their challenge during this time? And what do you think will remain on their practice thinking the near future of the new economic that we are facing?
I can take this one, Ed.
Thank you.
So the ideas that Ed just described, the management tactics, I think are very difficult to get right. It takes a lot of work to really integrate your whole organization, all of the functions across your business and with external partners. And to do that while you're keeping up with the pace of technology change and trying to respond in real time to, a changing environment. We tested how well executives across countries were integrating these parts of their business. And we looked at 3 specific areas. We looked at business processes, talent and workforce strategies, and data collection and analysis. And we did see that companies in Brazil are struggling with a lot of these areas. For example, when we asked respondents to describe the level of integration of their business processes, just over a third of our Brazilian responses said that those were integrated across functions, compared with 45% among the global average. And then they're on par with or maybe slightly lagging their peers in those other areas I mentioned too, like talent and workforce or data collection and analysis. And this is something, again, that we're seeing across countries. We're seeing that facilitating collaboration is a challenge for everyone, not just for companies in Brazil. So, 35% in Brazil said that they're very effective at facilitating collaboration, which is just 2 percentage points above the global average. So getting this right is hard, but it's a really important part of transforming your operations. So connecting your processes, your data strategies, and your talent tactics is going to help you respond to this kind of disruption and set a foundation for future growth.
Great. We talk about operation and integration of process and so on, but and the people and the employees, how the skilled workforce will be challenged, and also how the leaders are seeing the skilled workforce being challenged and be changing in that new scenario. They are planning something different. We really are living in a future of work.
Yeah, let me take a shot at that, Adriana, and you can back me up with some facts maybe.
Okay.
It's absolutely true, Jackson, that you have to have the skills to work in this new environment. And Adriana mentioned a focus on data and technology. Well, we all have to learn to use new tools, emerging technologies around artificial intelligence, say. But even in this environment we're in now, we've all had to learn to use Zoom. And it's not just using the technology, pushing the right button. It's learning the etiquette and the culture of working together in a new way. So the future of work accelerated with this pandemic, and we're seeing the way we're going to work in the future. It's not necessarily going to stay just like this. It'll continue to evolve, but it requires a purposeful management approach that says, how am I training my people? How am I equipping my people? How am I changing the way the company operates and the way I operate? And so the human element and the future of work, as you say, is critical to this systems thinking discipline, because you can buy all the technology you want, you can get all the data you want, but if you're not putting it to use and having the people and the skills to make the most of it, then there's just not a lot of point. And that's a place where Brazil is, like the rest of the world, working to catch up to reality. As I say, this pandemic has accelerated reality, and none of us were really prepared. And so that skills area is one that Brazilian executives have told us that they're especially focused on, and where they see a real need.
Great, very interesting. And we work a lot to provide data to our customers. So a lot of data, a lot of integration, a lot of insights. But how the drivers of interconnectivity will change the organization, how they could use better their data to transform their operations.
You want to take a shot at that, Adriana, or do you want me to go first?
Yeah, sure. So, in terms of how interconnectivity is going to change organizations, I think there's a process change that needs to happen in order to, effectively share information and share data across borders and even just within your enterprise. But ultimately, it should be contributing to better communication, better responsiveness, more agility, and hopefully that should translate into results that are a little bit easier to measure, in terms of business performance. And this is something that we tried to look at in our research as well. We identified a smaller cut of respondents, a leader cut, that demonstrated stronger strategies than others in these areas of systems thinking that we've been talking about. So we basically isolated the respondents in our survey who were further along that journey in terms of how well they integrated processes, data collection analysis, and talent and workforce tactics. And we also wanted to make sure that all of those respondents were acting on a purpose-driven message, because that's another area that we think is really important to tie this whole holistic management concept together. So very few respondents qualified for this group, just 6% of our sample. And of course, it's difficult for us to prove cause and effect with our survey, but we do like to look at the performance outcomes of the leader group versus others. And those results suggest that there are benefits to getting this kind of interconnectivity right, because that leader group is seeing stronger returns in certain areas related to financial performance and other outcomes.
I guess their profitability is growing faster and their innovation is more robust. And they're critical areas. And so you might ask, well, so you have 6%, I think it's 4% in Brazil who are in this leader group. How does data sharing, how does breaking down silos between functions or even suppliers lead to better financial performance and better innovation? And you could choose among many areas. We tested a lot of different variables, but let's look at supply chain. It's a critical area, and consumers are increasingly interested in the ethics of the supply chain. This goes to that purpose story that Adriana mentioned. And so a company that's really practicing systems thinking well will understand, using data, what their consumers want. They'll understand what their suppliers and their suppliers' suppliers are doing, where they're sourcing this material, and then they'll produce products that meet that demand. And so to do that, it obviously requires a lot of communication and interconnection between the functions of the company, IT, finance, but also, as we discussed earlier, maybe HR has to be involved. You have to have the right skills. When you can bring all of that together and use it to put a product in the marketplace that your customers are demanding, that's where you start to see, well, that is innovation. And then you start to see the financial results flow from that.
Great, Ed. Supply chain is key for our customers, and we see differently in different industries. How do you see this impact and these priorities in different industries? What's your point of view?
Well, Jackson, I'm glad you asked that one, because our research included 10 different industries, and we had a meaningful statistical sample for each one. And as a matter of fact, we produced a short research report about each of those 10 industries. So your viewers will be able to go deeper, if they so choose, industry by industry, and see, as you say, what the differences are. Now, obviously, professional services is going to be very different from manufacturing, but this idea of a systems thinking approach that allows you to break down silos and allows you to communicate across your own company and then outside your own company is definitely something that matters no matter what business you're in. So we did see differences in the way the particulars played out by sector. Adriana, you want to walk through some of those?
Sure. For example, we saw that in the retail sector, this is probably unsurprising to you all, but they were more likely to say that their supply chain operations and the scale of their geographic operations was highly complex compared with respondents from other sectors. And then meanwhile, in consumer products, you have respondents more focused on the development of customized products and services. So as Ed said, I think, this philosophy, these management tactics we've been talking about is applicable across sectors, but the priorities of your different sectors are going to influence how exactly you execute on them.
Great. I'm sure the material is rich and is totally connect with our intelligent enterprise. And the moment that the leaders are thinking and open to the new thoughts is totally fit with our priorities. So thank you very much, Ed and Adriana, to share with us. And I'm very happy to see you again in the next opportunity.
Thank you, Jack.
Thanks so much.
See you. Bom, foi muito interessante aqui ouvir o estudo da Oxford. Eu acho que ele tem aqui uma conexão direta com o conceito de Intelligent Enterprise. Fico muito feliz aqui de compartilhar com vocês esses dados e esse estudo. E eu queria desejar a vocês um ótimo evento, compartilhando aí durante os nossos dias de evento e também durante a sequência, os dias adicionais que esse conteúdo vai estar disponível. Muito obrigado a todos. Tenham um ótimo evento.